Oh my God. Just when you think it couldn't get any worse in Dolton and Thornton Township, this super duper mayor does this.
First, what some say is a sneaky move to keep a controversial township supervisor in power. In part 2 of our investigative series, the mayor of Dolton, who's also the Thornton Township supervisor, cements her salary with a last-minute vote.
Our Dane Placco reveals just how she did it. Dane?
Anthony and Natalie, she makes a whopping $224,000 a year. Now Thornton Township supervisor Tiffany Henyard wants to cut the salary of her position by nearly $200,000. What a great move for taxpayers, right? Well, the pay cut only happens if someone else gets that job.
It's maybe the worst attempt to try to dissuade people from running that I've ever seen, and that's a long time.
Longtime municipal attorney Bert Odelson says he was stunned when he saw the latest move by controversial Thornton Township supervisor Tiffany Henyard, who also doubles as the mayor of Dolton. 2 weeks ago, the township board passed an ordinance that allows Henyard to continue collecting her $224,000 a year salary. But if anyone other than Henyard gets the job, the ordinance resets that salary to $25,000 a year.
God damn it! You can't make this shit up!
Odelson says that's blatantly unconstitutional because you can't set an elected official's salary based on who's holding the seat.
And you will respect my authority!
You put a salary to attach to the job, to the officer. So it is a blatant attempt to dissuade other people from running and to allow the current supervisor to maintain the $250,000 or whatever it is, obnoxious salary.
I didn't receive any information, actually literally till I sat down for the meeting.
No, so you didn't know this was coming?
No.
Thornton Township trustee Chris Gonzalez says he didn't vote for the ordinance because he was handed the 7-page document at the start of a meeting and didn't even have a chance to read it. Gonzalez says it's clear Henyard is trying to ward off an election challenge by cutting the salary of anyone who beats her by nearly 90%.
You're so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
Discourage people from running is probably the first thing that comes to mind.
But would you advise one of your candidates to do something like that using taxpayer funds?
No, not using taxpayer funds.
That's the smartest thing I've ever heard anyone say about anything.
Okay, so if you've driven one of the expressways in the south suburbs recently, you've no doubt seen one of these giant billboards. They feature the name and the face of a smiling local politician. What you may not know is the money for these billboards is coming out of taxpayers' pockets, and that's raising questions for Tiffany Henyard, the Dolton mayor and Thornton Township supervisor, who has already come under fire for spending public money promoting herself.
Dane Placco has the latest chapter in his ongoing investigation into Henyard's questionable spending.
Well, no fucking shit.
Take a drive to the south suburbs and you can't miss them. 4 giant billboards featuring Tiffany Henyard's name in large letters, along with her picture, smiling down on the thousands of cars going by on Interstate 57 and the Bishop Ford Expressway. What are they advertising? One says fresh produce, another senior services, and this one simply says we offer general assistance.
And free! And free, and free, and free, and free, and free!
There's a phone number, but you wouldn't know what it's for unless you can read in teeny tiny letters Thornton Township Supervisor as you're speeding by. These are the billboards that have gone up along the expressways. We showed the billboards to Bert Odelson, an election attorney who's been working in Illinois politics for 50 years.
When I first looked at it, I thought, what is she running for now? Because that's what it shouts out.
Odelson, who represents a political faction opposed to Henyard and Dolton, says it's clear the billboards are promoting more than township services. He says they're essentially campaign ads.
This is a blatant attempt to promote herself.
Narcissistic personality disorder is one of 10 personality disorders in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, published by the American Psychiatric Association.
Politically, the township should not have paid for these if they did, and I'm sure they did.
They did indeed. Bills obtained by Fox 32 under open records laws shows Thornton Township paid more than $10,000 for the vinyl signs themselves and more than $12,000 to Clear Channel Outdoor Advertising for 1 month's rental of the billboards. What was your reaction when you saw them?
Well, first of all, I didn't know anything about them.
Thornton Township trustee Chris Gonzalez says the board was never consulted about the billboards, which he says needed their approval.
Kind of some of the first things that popped in my mind is, what are we doing? This isn't a big sale. We're not selling cars here. I mean, if it's informational, then it should be informational. I mean, there's so many other ways we could have spent that money that would have, directly helped people.
This isn't the first time Henyard has used taxpayer dollars to burnish her own personal image. In fact, on other occasions, she spent a lot more.
Hey guys, this is Super Mayor Tiffany Henyard.
Earlier this year, Fox 32 showed you how Henyard spent tens of thousands of dollars using employees and vehicles from the township and from Dalton, where she also serves as mayor, for a week-long walk to Springfield to promote her self-named cancer charity, which is yet to file required reporting. And you can't turn your head in Dalton or Thornton Township without seeing Henyard's picture or name. It's on all the government-owned vehicles, buildings, even on the rugs in the township, where we found a Tiffany Henyard 2024 calendar featuring all the important dates to remember, including her birthday.
I would be having a fit if she was my client, telling her not to do this.
Veteran Chicago political consultant Delmarie Cobb says there would be nothing wrong if Henyard were using her own political funds for those promotional materials, especially the billboards.
I actually had a candidate years ago who was running for mayor of Dalton, and that's what we did. We bought billboards along the expressway, because if you're coming and going home all day, and one of the things I always say about billboards is they're working when you're asleep.
In 2011, state lawmakers passed a law banning the practice of politicians putting their names on publicly funded signs, spurred by these tollway signs featuring former Governor Rod Blagojevich. That law does not extend to mayors or other elected officials, but election attorney Odelson believes the billboards do violate state election laws.
It's a crime. Yeah, you're using public funds for something that taxpayer dollars shouldn't be used for.
And just when you think you've seen it all, take a look at this. When the first billboard went up last summer, Thornton was misspelled as Thornton. Another sign had to be ordered, apparently at taxpayer expense. Dane Placco, Fox 32, Chicago.
I don't know, man. There is just something wrong with this mayor. This super duper mayor. There's only so much I can do from Florida. You know, I don't live there. All I can do is just report on all the craziness that we see some of these public officials doing, whether it be in Clearwater, whether it's in Daytona, whether it's in... It doesn't matter. If you see the things that are going on in your town, you need to go to your town and voice your opinion. Because if you don't voice your opinion, they're going to get away with this stuff. And the only reason this mayor hates what's going on is because she's being exposed. She wanted all that attention, but now that this attention isn't going good for her, she really hates it. So make sure that you give her a call. I will leave all the information in the description below, and try to call her. Try to give her a call and let her know how you feel, because she obviously doesn't return phone calls and she doesn't want that clap back. But all right, you know the deal. Like, share, and subscribe, and I'm out. Soliaker, deuces.